Welcome everybody from around the world. Thanks for joining us. Welcome Kieran. Kieran is a longtime marketer, including stints at Salesforce, Marketo, HubSpot twice. He's back at HubSpot, and he'll talk about that and what he's doing now, and also former CMO at Zapier. So a long and successful career as a marketer, obviously in the technology software industry, and now in the age of AI. Welcome, Kieran. Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from Dublin. I can actually say sunny
Nice.
Dublin. Usually always have to kind of say, I'm always jealous talking to people in the US because they have better weather, but we have good weather
Right.
now.
Good, good. Well, again, thanks for joining us. Okay, I want to get right to it. And Karen, we like to do something we call high-low at Section. It's one of our operating principles. It's one of the ways we like to work, and we like to sort of run these sessions along this high-low framework. Because we're going to zoom out, we're going to zoom in, zoom out, zoom in over the next 40 minutes. So I want to zoom into you to get started, which is a little bit of your career. Because last time we talked, you mentioned that you're really not a marketer now, or you're really more of an AI guy. So if you could just maybe help us understand where you're at now in terms of what you're focused on and what you think about being a marketer right now in these moments.
Yeah, I think I guess the way that I would describe my career is I like to solve hard problems. And so I'm passionate about marketing, but if I look back through my career, I started as a software developer, then I started to help SaaS brands grow internationally. Then I got into this new go-to-market model called product-led growth and became help HubSpot do that, started to do advisory around that, and done a bunch of different things. And then they're always usually about, how something is changing, hard problems to solve, new things to learn. And so when I say I don't really think of myself as a marketer, I think of myself as an AI, it's because I think everyone has to think of themselves as somewhat of an AI expert because it's how we actually have to do our jobs. And so all of the hard problems to solve and the interesting problems to solve are in AI. And so what I spend my time doing today is actually AI for go-to-market. HubSpot had created a go-to-market around inbound. That was the methodology. We built a platform around it. And we were really trying to modernize how the traditional B2B brand will have to go to market through a whole kind of new go-to-market that is really AI first. And that is what I spend my time doing, trying to figure out that for HubSpot across all of our go-to-market teams so then we can instrument that into our platform and give it away to all of our great customers.
And when you say AI first, you mean the marketing team is working AI first, or do you mean sort of the outreach and that inbound slash outbound go to market is AI enabled, or both, or is it selling AI products? Or again, what
No,
do you
that's actually yeah. No, it's a good. Cause I was actually talking to someone about this earlier. And so, what does an AI first company look like? I think for me, there's two kind of subsets of that. It's like the employees are AI enabled, and so that if you integrate it into your core workflows, you're going to just be a more productive person. Now, I will say that is a really hard thing to measure because that is like, how do I use AI? And because of my use of AI, am I a more am I a better version of myself? And how do I even measure that of my company? And I think a lot of companies are going to start to think about, well, I'm just going to give no one additional headcount and give them more work. And that's how I can like figure out if they're becoming more productive. The other version of AI is just how you go to market and how you please your customers, how you create better customer journeys. So like you brought up a couple of things, but that's things like AI chat. If you go to HubSpot's website, we have a really cool experiment running where we have an AI digital avatar that can actually talk you through and demo the product on the website. And so you can talk to a realistic person. That's a version of an AI experience. It's how we reach our customers. We've integrated AI across all of our email. For example, we've seen anywhere between 350 to 500% increases in conversion rate. It's how we do customer support. AI does a lot of our customer support now, a lot of the deflection. It's how we drive a lot of incremental sales by enabling our salespeople to have better conversations with our customers. We enable our customer success reps to have better conversations with our customers to drive usage. So there's like two parts, and I think one of them is easier to measure than the other. The first part is like, are your employees using AI in their day-to-day work? That's a hard thing to measure what the upside is. The other is I'm instrumented AI into how we make our customers happier through that entirety of the customer journey.
Okay, so I want to go back to that because I had a question for you, and you've answered part of it, but I want to go back to that. Let's go back though to you, because you said to me the last time we talked, challenging time to be a marketer. Say more. Uh,
Yeah, like okay, so
There's a lot of marketing. There's 600, almost 700 people with us. I'm sure a lot are in marketing. Some are probably early in their career. Some might be CMOs. Just yeah, let's just talk a little bit for about that and your advice. No, not just oh,
yeah.
it's a challenging time, but like what to do. And when you think about the career, the individual, and then we'll get to the marketing and the go to market and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, so I think about it, I kind of like my first iteration of building my career as a marketer was really when inbound was a new thing. Like we had shifted from this kind of outbound marketing, the internet became popular, and then we were able to do different things online and digital marketing. Now, the advantage for marketeers is that actually opened up a lot of new channels, right? We actually had Google search, which was to me one of the greatest marketing channels there's ever been. Now we had these paid advertising and we could get really focused on our customers. We had all of these new channels opening up. So for a marketer, you're kind of doing the same thing that we have to do today. You're having to solve hard problems. You're having to create new playbooks. And then at some point, all of those things become best practice and everyone does them. Now, for me, I like the times that are chaotic and you have to build the playbooks and figure the things out. Not so much the times when we all know what to do and it's just really best practice and optimizing. So I would say where we are now is like another time where it's chaotic and we're trying to build the playbooks. But why do I think it's a little harder than when I was doing that originally for inbound? Because
Mhm.
the marketing channels we have are actually shrinking, right? So that's the big difference because Google search, we're losing kind of a lot of traffic from Google search, visibility in Google search. Now it is migrating to AI engines, and we can talk a little bit about that. But it's a harder thing to see the impact of, right? It is a and I kind of tease performance marketers, and I was built my career as a performance marketer that we could measure our we could measure what we did and we could show the CFO and the CEO, look at the results, and brand were stuck with share of voice. So now
Yeah.
performance marketers are now stuck with share of voice. It's a hard spot to be. And what's happening because people can't build forecastable models in AI search or AI engine optimization, and so what do we do as marketers? We put more money in the thing that we can build for forecastable growth around, which is paid advertising. I can put $1 in, I can get $2, $3 back, and that is increasing the cost of CAC. And that's making that channel harder and harder to extract value from. So the reason I think it's a scary time to be a marketeer is because the predictable channels we could build marketing and growth from are disappearing, and we're not being given like a one for one. We're being given these new kind of channels where we have to infer what is actually happening from all of the work we're doing. And I think that is the crux of why a lot of marketeers are struggling today, which is I don't have a predictable way to show my value and worth within a company. And I think that's a scary place to be.
Yeah, so I would just want to summarize that for everybody and check me on this, Kieran, in terms of the summary. What you're saying is um, some of our tried and true channels are shrinking, primarily organic search and maybe even paid search, right?
Yeah, I think the cost of paid
And then and
is going
also
up.
cost of
Yeah,
paid because paid is maybe the only reliable one
exactly.
that I got to pour money more into it. My CAC's going up, so that sucks because I'm competing with others for less audience. And my new channels are clearly unproven, unpredictable, or unforecastable. And oh shit, that's kind of where we're at right now for marketers.
Because if I go back prior to the internet, and I was a software developer back then. I was trying to build things. It turns out I wasn't a good coder. If I just had waited long enough, I could start to code now with AI with vibe coding.
Now you could be vibing it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but like why was inbound actually so successful when we branded inbound against outbound? It's because marketers weren't able to stand up with sales and these other teams and say, here's what I'm worth. Here's the value I'm driving for the company. And I think there's a bit of a reset in marketing now where it's becoming harder again to tell the story of marketing and show the worth of marketing and the value of marketing.
And on top of that, is also what's going on is my CEO now expects me to do all this with less people because of AI. Do you think there's also some sort of cost or team pressure coming in terms of, hey, AI it helps marketers, it's language intensive, right? So why you guys need to hire anybody? Is that also what's going on? Do you think making this harder?
Yeah, 100%. Like I think every company is going to measure productivity not by measuring productivity, like not by actually trying to figure out what are our employees getting more productive because of AI. They're just going to say you're not going to get any more headcount and you have to do more with less. And I think that is becoming the kind of um prevalent way that people are starting to say, hey, like AI is doing something for us because I'm giving none of my team's headcounts. And I think there are There's some truth that AI should make you more productive, but it's definitely easier to measure in some roles than others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Most CMOs I talk to, Kieran, say that marketing teams will be 20 to 50% smaller in 3 years. Do you buy that? Do you agree with it?
I buy that marketing is going to move from specialization to generalization, and that probably could make teams smaller because what marketing is a collection of specialists, right? We have brand specialists, product marketing specialists, paid specialists, search specialists. If you actually compare that to like a sales team, right? A sales team has a BDR, SDR, then like some sort of account executive, and it's a pretty linear path.
Yeah,
Marketer is a collection of like niche specialist roles. And it's that way because you need a bunch of like niche knowledge to do that thing. And I
yeah,
do believe that AI is going to allow a smart person who just knows the craft to do a bunch of different roles. So if I'm a person and I'm just a creative storyteller and I have AI, I should be able to do product positioning, brand campaigns, and tell the story of the brand. And so in that case, I think the trend that I do believe in, and I don't know the exact like size of the teams, but I do believe we go from a world of marketing specialization to marketing generalization powered by expertise within AI. And I think learning how to do that in AI is hard. It's not simply what a lot of people think. It's go in and just like basic prompts and you're there. Like there's a
right.
real art to how you use AI to do those things.
But let's just again, let's try to summarize that and check me here. What I'm hearing you say makes total sense to me, which is I had a marketing team, let's say of 10 people, because I needed one specialist in these 6 or 7 or 8 domains, right? And then I needed a couple managers and a head of marketing. What you're saying is that team in a year or two could go from 10 to 6, let's say, I'm just,
Yeah.
roughly. And those 6 actually could be more generalists. And I could hire different people into that team because they're going to use AI to basically, augment themselves with the specialties. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, I kind of described it as like marketing is going to shift to the opposite ends of each spectrum. And so what I mean by that is marketing has traditionally been called like art and science, right? It's a blend of art and science. And you can kind of see that if you like distill marketing down into its most basic form, it's how do I create awareness in the market and then how do I generate and capture demand from that awareness? That's all of marketing. Like and in awareness there's how do I create awareness through brand, my product position, and whatever other things can create awareness in the market. That is a very like creative role, and the demand generation and capture is like performance marketing, email automation, marketing automation, all of these kind of hard technical things.
Yeah.
And so I think marketing is going to shift to the opposite ends of each spectrum where you have to be incredibly creative. Like it's not good enough just to be kind of creative. You have to be incredibly creative because you have to elevate your brand above all the noise. Because what's happening, there's a ton of
Right.
AI slop, right? What was the first thing
More
marketers did
content,
with
more
AI?
content.
Yeah,
Right. More.
more slop. Automate my
Yeah.
LinkedIn comments, like the worst thing you can do with AI. And then on
Yeah.
the other opposite, on the opposite end of the technical spectrum, you have to really have an engineer mindset to figure out how can I instrument AI to start to automate a bunch of this and start to actually take a lot of this work off us and have AI actually do it. And that takes a like very engineer-led type mindset. And so I think the best marketers are going to operate at each end of the spectrum, and in the middle is going to be AI, right? The middle part is going to be AI powering those two things. And that's how I think most teams are going to be set up in the future. I actually don't even know if we have functional teams in the future. I don't know if we have product marketing brand. I think we have small autonomous pods powered by AI with these kind of people, generalist people who are very creative, very engineer led, who can just be gold against like a single target, right? They will
Yeah.
operate in a singular pod, very
Uh-huh.
focused on a singular target, and could just go after in a very growth agile way.
Now I'm a little confused. Are those two people the journalists you're talking about, or is the rest of the team journalists and you've got these kind of super creative and super technical? Is that
I
kind of how?
think I,
Yeah.
I put, yeah, I see what you're saying. So I put generalist in either two buckets because I still
Yeah.
think that you have to be like, I still think it's hard to like flip your brain between like, I think their unicorns are going to be the people who are incredibly creative but incredibly technical.
Hard to
But
find.
I do think you can have incredibly creative people who can do all of the creative roles powered by
Yeah.
AI, and then incredibly technical people who
Got
can
it.
do all
Yeah.
of the technical pieces powered by AI. Now there
Makes
are folks who can do who I do know folks who are like can split their brain between the creative and technical, and they're going to make great marketing leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the funnel. Is it dead? Is there a funnel? And in that, let's talk about what happened to search engine optimization and what replaces it, if anything. Because I hear about what's it called, GEO?
There's so many names to this. We call it
Yeah.
AIEO, AI
A,
engine
okay,
optimization.
let's talk about the funnel first, and then
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
talk.
yeah, yeah. Get into the acronyms.
Yeah, talk about how do we
Yeah,
optimize for an AI answer, I guess, basically, or an AI search. Or but let's talk
yeah.
about the funnel first. Is it dead, or which I find hard to believe, but maybe it is. Say more.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I think it's changing, right? So let's give the kind of most simplistic form of a marketing funnel, which is we create awareness, which is kind of engagement at the very top, and then we convert that into clicks, which is our traffic. Then we convert that into conversions, and then we convert that into customers. The part that is getting heavily disrupted is the clicks, because what's happening in the clicks is all of the people who used to come to your website, so they would hear about your brand, you would create some influence, they would go to your website and they would start researching and figuring out, are you the right product for them? Now, if you look at the data on what people are doing when they go into these AI engines, when someone comes from the AI engine onto your website, the conversion rate is about anywhere between 4x and 23x what it was when they came through Google, right? So think about that. It's like,
Oh, just stop right there. I
yeah,
just want everybody to hear this. The conversion rate, which is like the next, not necessarily sale, but like the next action, right?
yeah, convert it
Whatever
into
you
like a forum or
a
yeah,
form or a
yeah,
download a PDF of it. So it's
yeah,
4 to 23 times
23x.
higher.
Yeah.
They come from an AI.
So you get less of them. That's the
They're
big important.
way
You get
less,
way less of them and they
but they're
convert way
way more
higher.
qualified. So they're
And
doing
so
way more. So they're doing even more work on their own using the AI.
exactly. And that's where all your clicks, so all your clicks are
Right,
disappearing into the
right.
AI ether. And so when
Yeah,
they come, they're ready to close, which means your website actually has to be a closer, right?
right, right,
And now there's a thing that we can get into when we talk about AI engine optimization because it needs to be a closer, but there's a way that you can actually generate visibility in these engines, which means you actually still need a lot of content to cater for the AI. But specifically, when someone has landed on your website in the future, they've done their research. They know who you are. They figured out a lot of things, and they're trying to figure out, can I close? Like, is the pricing right for me? Do you have like a couple of the add-ons that I need? And
right,
that's a
right.
very different way to think about your website.
So can I do that and optimize? Can I do that and also optimize my site then for
Yeah.
AI conversations or AI for
Yeah.
the AIs? Yeah.
So if we go through that font, so the awareness part will like the awareness part is actually more important than ever. I actually
Yeah.
believe that. I believe that we're going to move from from creating or generating traffic to really generating influence. I think generating influence is going to be the most important part because we want to own that awareness. Then they go into the AI engine, they do a bunch of research, and they come to your website. And so you're like, how do I actually appear in that AI engine? Well, what's happening is Google taught us to search in keywords. And so when I search for a B2B product, there's usually like 5 to 7 keywords. And that's how I taught. So I'm taught to go to Google and type in my keyword. AI engines are conversational experiences. So I talk to it like I talk to a colleague. Now there's about 100, 500, 1,000 ways to ask about your product. And so the way that these AI engines work is they want to have micro niche content that speaks to that exact question. And so you need actually not one product page. You need 100 micro versions of your product page. So when the LLM has a specific question, it can pull that into the answer. And then the other thing I would pair that with is citations, not links, citations. Because what the engines are looking for is co-citations. So is your product mentioned with the same words that the person is using to ask questions about it? And so now you have to go out and you have to say, can I make sure that I'm getting mentioned, cited against these words? And the other thing I'll leave your audience with is in Google, it was just high authority domains. Can I get links in?
Yeah.
In these AI engines, it's who they partner with because they have copyright laws to think about,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
go look at all the partnerships they have. There's your sites that they trust citations from, and they're the ones you want to start with.
You mean the media partnerships, right? Like
Media partnerships, Reddit.
where they're legally
Yeah,
crossed, basically. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Holy shit! So this is going to be a new job for sure. I mean, everything you
Oh,
just
100. We already have we have an entire group
team.
that this is their job.
So these hundreds of, just to get tactical for a moment, so we'll zoom in, then we'll zoom back out. These like very tactical product pages that are very nichey. Are they like just like at the bottom of my website, like back in the day, we used to publish all the terms on our websites, right? At the bottom of the website, so the Google crawler could pick it up. Is this like, is all this content on my website? Does it need to be at the?
It's on your website, but it's not in the core nav. No,
Yeah, right.
it's not hidden, and we're not trying to, because the question you would ask is, well, should you de-index that from Google? Like, is that a
Right.
bad thing for your Google rankings? It's really not.
Right.
We don't see it as. Now we're in the early phases, right? So maybe
Yeah.
something will change,
Yeah.
but we don't have it in the core nav because for the typical user, it really is the
Right.
first example of creating content for an AI engine
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
your user. And I think over time, one of the things I've always been fascinated about is that we talk so much about how AI changes the go-to-market, and I think that's a great conversation to have. The more fascinating the conversation to me is how AI changes procurement, because
Mhm.
no one actually wakes up in the morning and says, you know what I really want to get great at? I want to get a great at buying B2B products.
Right.
And so
Right.
why wouldn't I offload that job to an agent, right? And what happens when the agent is doing
Yeah.
most of the
Right.
purchasing for on your behalf? And that's a fascinating thing to think about.
And do you mean by purchasing you? I think you also mean therefore the research as well.
Yeah, they're
You
pre-programmed to do
don't
the
mean just
research.
placing. Yeah.
Yeah, they have it. But I
The whole
talked to
process.
yeah, I
Yeah.
talked to a founder recently, and they have an agent that researches contacts and then buys them gifts. That agent has a budget. It can just go and buy the gift and deliver it itself. It doesn't have to ask the human for any kind of like validation. It can go, and so at some point, an agent can definitely research and actually buy products for you, and
Okay, hold on a sec. Hold
that
on a
means
sec.
the whole vendor's out.
Yeah, yeah. Now I get it. Okay, but I want to go back. So you have a founder who says I'm generating leads by buying gifts for prospects, and I've seen this before, right? Gift
Yeah.
cards and shit like that. And they have an agent doing it who's clearly targeted to some list of prospects and with a budget, and the agent decides the gift and buys it and sends it.
Yeah. So what the agent will do is go and research you. I'm sure you've done a
Right.
lot of external talks. It
Yeah.
would basically it would load all, it would scrape all that data. It would put it into a context window, and then it's programmed to find the quirkiest thing about you. The thing you would be like, wow, I can't believe someone knows this thing about me. And then it will go and find that gift and purchase that gift and send you that gift.
Wow. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about AI in the go-to-market. So say more, meaning where are the problems there? Like where are you spending your time? It might be with agent optimization, which we talked about already, but where else are you spending your time in terms of trying to get leverage from AI in the go-to-market? Just say more.
Yeah, and so I think AI can become your first kind of salesperson. Before they actually, if someone talks to your sales, AI can actually do some of the job, so your sales is better armed with context. And so, two quick examples of that. A lot of our chat now is AI. And the thing is, when people think about like automated experiences, chat, I think we all have these bad memories of chat workflow kind of experiences where the chat it just was not a good experience. But we have AI now. It's kind of it can replicate what the person could do in chat. It can go back and forth, and it can figure out, is this a support conversation or is this a sales conversation? And then it can actually qualify you and say, can I just give you the link to buy, or actually should I actually book the meeting with the sales rep? And it can book the meeting for you. And then the other one that I'm fascinated by is actually AI as being able to do discovery and qualification. And so what does that look like? Well, in any typical go-to-market funnel, the thing that really spikes your close won rates, which is like the conversion rate to someone becoming a customer, is time to first touch, right? Which means someone comes in and they book a meeting, and then the rep is not available for like 2 days, and that's when they get to speak to someone. Now, if you can reduce that to a day, your conversion rates will go up. If you can reduce that to under 5 minutes, which is what I want to do, it will drastically spike your conversion rate. But how can you do that in a big company like ours? Reps are very busy. Well, the way we are going to experiment with doing this is, will people be okay having their first conversation with a digital avatar if that digital avatar is able to give them everything they need, answer their questions, they can show them the product. It's programmed to show you anything in the product you want to see. And then you can basically say, well, this is for me, this isn't for me. And these are the things I want to get from my sales conversation. So what that will actually do is reduce the number of touches it takes for an actual human sales rep to close that deal, which means you make your sales team much, much more productive. So that's like one of the things that we're working on in sales. The other one is giving sales just AI functionality to help them have better conversations with their prospects, right? Their actual pipeline. And so we are arming with the sales team with all of this AI functionality, and we can see a correlation to that sales team close in more incremental deals.
You can.
So
You're
yeah,
already
we
you're already
can. Yeah,
seeing the
we're
person
seeing
coming
it.
back.
Yeah, we're seeing it. So like, I'll give you one of
And
the
that
cool
means
things
they
we
have
do.
access to like better product information. Like how is the AI helping the salesperson?
Yeah, let me give you one cool thing, like one of the cool features the team built. I don't think I'm giving away secret sauce here. So what it will do is like the big value in AI, right, is unstructured data. Unstructured data has meant we can do things that we were never able to do before. So when we look at our unstructured data, an example of unstructured data is your customer calls. There's so much value in those customer calls that we could never extract before. So we did a bunch of analysis. We looked at customer calls and we could see what delineates a top performing rep from a average rep. Like what do they talk about in the call that's different? And one of the things they had was always had examples of a company like that company that they had closed and could speak to the problems and then the actual what actually happened. Now, these are not case studies on your website. These are like, I closed this customer. It sounds like you, sounds like
Hmm.
they had the same problems, and we set them up with HubSpot and A, B, or C happened. That would
Hmm.
always increase the conversion rate. And so what we did was whenever a rep would have a prospect, we could do regression analysis and we could show you that information right there on your screen. So that's like one example of how we can provide something that the rep can use to increase their help them move to the person to the next stage. And then the other ones are just giving you the competitive intelligence tailored to that call. Like what competitors would you likely need to speak about, how you should likely speak about them, kind of
Right.
like the de facto AI stuff. Like we can give you call summaries, we can give you
Right.
follow-up emails, we can
Yeah.
give you summaries of your deals, just making the rep much more efficient in the data that they have access to that's tailored to that customer and
Yeah.
company. Now, the thing I'll just speak to really, really quickly is anyone who's worked for a long time in kind of product knows that sales is a hard team to get to adopt new things, not because they're doing anything wrong. They're trying to survive and make their numbers. You're like, hey, use this new tool. And they're
Yeah.
like, I actually have to make my number here.
Yeah.
And so we've learned what one of the core things we've learned is the tool has to be incredibly good, has to really provide a lot of value, and has to be directly in their workflow. Can't take them out of the workflow they're already using. And that's like one of the cores to getting people to actually adopt some of the AI stuff you're building.
Yeah. I want to go back real quick to this idea because you've got the data historically, which is you're saying time to first call or first contact or first touch after the, I guess the lead, after the expression of interest. You shorten that time, your conversion goes up, right? Like
Yes,
that's been
exactly.
historically the case,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Time to first touch.
yeah, time first touch, right? So, and do you think that's the case for $100 sale and $1,000 or $10,000 sale? You think that holds across different kind of sale value? You know what I mean?
I it's
Basically,
it's it's true for when it's true for any sale where that person needs to speak to a human.
yeah,
For anyone, if it's a self-serve, it doesn't really matter because they can do it
right,
on their
right,
own. But
yeah,
it's when they actually have to talk to a
yeah,
person. And what I'll
yeah.
say is from doing a ton of advisory and because like part of that growth was the real thing that I spend a lot of my time trying to perfect. That was like a real passion of mine, and I do a lot of advisory for those types of companies. It's surprising how much people want to talk to someone just to make them feel at ease for
Hmm.
that cost.
Yeah,
And it's much lower than you think, or much lower than you would want, right? Because a lot of
right,
us would like to
right,
say we could sell a lot of this through self-serve and
right,
then sell the big ticket stuff through humans.
right,
But maybe that $300, $500 is a big thing for that person, and they need someone to say, "Yeah, you're all right. This is going to be fine." Now,
yeah,
I think that the fascinating thing is like, can you get the same sort of feeling
from
from
an AI.
AI over
Yeah,
time? And I
yeah,
think what I've learned, what I've seen from AI, the AI search component is people trust AI now way more than they used to. They don't
hmm.
really think so much about the hallucinations, and I think people are going to get very, very comfortable with AI telling them what to do.
Okay, so that is sort of kind of part of my follow-up question, which is, so what you're saying is you want to close that time to first touch, and that because intuitively my reaction is as a CEO or maybe the CMO or head of sales, I paid a lot to get that lead, put him in the hand of a human, right? A
Yes,
human, put,
100%. I get
put
that.
that lead
Yeah.
in, like that's the most precious thing, right? A warm prospect, right? What you're saying though is that maybe not. Like the data, we need to see the data, but there might be some loss because people don't like the AI in this moment. But the gain of the shortening the first touch might outweigh that cost in terms of you lose some people because of the AI. And if the AI can enable that the first touch to happen faster, that's gonna the math could pencil out. Is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, well, so this is definitely the experimentation phase, but I'll give
Yeah.
you two signals or two ways to think about this. Which first signal is we've already done because the thing I had to prove was, are people even comfortable having conversations with avatars?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was like step one. Now we did an experiment and the results were actually kind of mind blowing. The
Mhm.
average conversation was 15 minutes long.
Hmm.
The longest was 2 hours. Do not know
Okay.
what they talked about for 2 hours, but
Yeah.
that showed me that people will engage with avatars. Now,
Mhm.
in this pilot, the experience will be you can opt out. So like it's basically it's not like we force you to talk. We say like, hey, you can get what this will take you like we'll talk to you in 24 hours. We'll talk to you in 48 hours. It should be 24 hours if it's a high value
Yeah.
deal. But
Yeah.
we'll talk to you in a certain amount of time. But in the meantime, do you want to talk to our avatar to get everything
Started.
out that
Yeah.
avatar, and then you'll have a better sales conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's very
Right.
similar. I'll give you a kind of interesting kind of example from customer support that's very similar. So customer support is the best known AI use case, I think,
Yeah.
right now. Most of the external visibility is on that. But there's an interesting thing in customer support that every brand is trying to struggle with as they're trying to increase the deflection rate that AI is like eating up. And it's again comes back to what I said is people's memory jog back to chatbots. And so what they end up doing is on the chat, they just go human. They don't give the AI a chance. And so one of the
Right.
ways to give the AI a chance is to say, to give a wait in time. Okay, this will take 3 minutes and we'll connect you to a human. In the meantime, do you want to talk to our AI to see if they can fix the problem? Sure, why not? I'm going to get connected to a human anyway. So
Right.
a lot of how you have to help people use AI is actually in the UX. It's not in
Mhm.
the model capabilities, it's the UX and how you bring that to life for the user.
I think that's brilliant. I hope everybody heard that. That's brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Listen, I want to zoom in, Kieran, to the team, and you opened up with this these options. I think, or I think about them as a couple or three different options. I want to get your advice here. Would you now let's think about a marketing team. Let's say it's 10, 20, 30 people, a small to mid-sized marketing team. Would you give them all access to an LLM, GPT-5 for enterprise, Copilot? I don't think it matters which one necessarily, but a full-featured state-of-the-art LLM, give everybody access and then train them and encourage them to use it? Or would you buy them specialized AI tools based on their marketing function or role, content marketer, performance marketer, and so on? Or a third option, or both maybe as a third option? Like, how do you think about bringing AI quickly into a team and getting that ROI
Yeah, and so
in
there's
terms of the tool, in terms of the tools first?
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
talk about the productivity measurement next, which you also opened up. So I want
yeah.
to close that loop as well. But let's talk about bringing AI into the org.
Yeah, so I would start with because there's specialist tools and then there's like the conglomerate tools. And the conglomerate tools for me are like OpenAI, Claude, and Gemini and Grok.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to me, every person should have a seat of one of those tools because I think it's fundamental to how you'll do your work. And there's two things you actually have to pair that with. You have to pair that with some sort of training, but I do think a lot of the onus is on the employee. If the employee does not know that this is a moment in time where they actually have to really learn this stuff, then I don't know if they're going to be the right employee, right? But I
Mhm.
do think you have to provide some training around the basics of prompt and how you can bring this to life in your role. And then the second one that is actually more important, and I see this time and time again, is actually I call it inspiration, which is just create a forum where people can share the things they're doing. Because without doubt, I have seen time again usage will increase drastically when people can see other people using it to be successful. And so if I can see my counterpart using it and what they're doing and they're posting about it, then I can actually get inspired by that and start to get motivated to do it myself. And so, for example, we will have Slack channels for teams where they can post all of the different things they're doing. And these Slack channels are on fire. Like
Yeah.
people are posting creative things all the time. So the tool, the knowledge, and the inspiration, I think is key to how you get it used like in the personal level.
Yeah. So step one to every CMO listening is if you haven't bought a full featured or state of the art LLM for your team, like what the hell? Like get on with it. That's kind of what you're saying. You're also
Yeah,
saying
100%.
yeah, a little bit of tough love though for the employees, saying this is on you too, right? Like you got to like figure this out, spend the time, get good at it, right?
Yeah, if you're not gonna like I no, I'm really extreme on this and I do know that, but it's like to me, it's the equivalent of saying I'm not gonna open my laptop.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, now let's talk about specialist tools. Everybody's got the LLM. Everybody's hopefully, making some progress and getting good at it and getting some productivity gains. What about, because we're overwhelmed with vendors, right? You know the market map
Right.
of every AI startup, especially in marketing and sales. How do we bring some order to that chaos? Meaning, what tools should I pick, and how do I even, where do I start?
I think this is a hard one because there are so many. It is like a time where everything is being rethought. And so there is just tools that can do things that were never possible before. And so it's hard to know if they're going to work for you without trying them. And so I can give
Mhm.
you a thing that I do, which is like, how do you even pick the right tool? I talk to the founders. I think people don't generally do that. I pick tools based upon, are they great founders? Like, do I believe in the founder? Do I believe in the company? Why do I do that? Because I do angel investing, and the way that I would do an angel investment is the way I think about tools right now, because they're so early, they're so new, and a lot of them have not proven signal, but they do look like they're going to be like really impactful for some of the things you want to do. And so we run pilots through these kind of tool providers and we look for signal. And so we
Mhm.
go from signal to scale, but we are testing a lot of these tools because I think it's the quickest way to get feedback on what's going to work for you. I do believe you're going to have to build a lot of custom functionality yourself, and I'll give you a reason why. The problem with a lot of the tools is they're all, wrappers around prompts, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way it works. But the prompts have to be kind of universal, so they have to work for like thousands and thousands of customers. So they're somewhat generic. Whereas I
Yeah.
think actually your needs are very specific, and context really matters. And context is basically the context you give the AI to tailor that prompt's results for you. And I think the reason a lot of these tools are failing is because the context they're given has to be for like all B2B SaaS companies.
Too
And
general. Yeah.
yeah, and that's not how companies work. Companies have nuances. The devil is like in the special nuances that that company has. And
Mhm.
so I think you're going to end up building some things custom yourself. And so I do think a lot of companies are now going to have an internal team, like I call it an AI ops team, that is going to
Mhm.
build a lot of custom AI functionality and tooling to power those teams.
Yeah. Um, and this is not I don't mean this question as a setup for HubSpot or any other existing vendor, but based on what you just said, a lot of marketing teams won't have the bandwidth, won't have anyone to do what you just suggested, like explore tools, talk to the
No, I
founder.
get, yeah. Yep.
Like should they just wait for HubSpot and others? Frankly, they're existing Martech vendors. Should they just wait for some of the best functionality to come through those platforms? Because they presumably will, right? Those platforms are not going to stand still, right, in this moment. And then just have to, because they're going to have to be pretty selective about bringing new technology in, right,
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
market.
So I think like a company like HubSpot will be able to, that's our whole mission, is to bring AI in an easy to use way for our customers. But I'm not going to just do a HubSpot pitch. I'm going to give something practical for people to do.
Yeah.
There's two ways that I would think about this for smaller companies. I still think I would pick the use case that you have most signal that's going to work for you. So I will give you one, like AI personalization in email works better than I ever could expected. Like if you had told me email, which has been around forever, everyone's
Has
wanted
been
to kill. Yeah. If
optimized for
optimize
20
that,
years.
what else can you do here with it?
Right.
And we've seen like 500% increases in conversion rates by being able to really personalize it at the contact level. And so it really does work. Now the data matters. I cannot emphasize that enough. Like the quality and the uniqueness of the data you're going to use to power that personalization really, really matters. We know customer support works. It really does work. If you want to integrate AI in your chat, that will work. And some of these AI functionalities to empower your salespeople just to be more productive really do work. So what you can actually do, if I was a smaller company, I would try to into like the AI space and try to look for things that have a ton of like signals from multiple people that they work,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I would only go after the ones where if I only have the resources, I'd go after the ones that are more surefire that they work and go after a couple of those, make some concerted bets.
Yeah, so I want to double click just for a moment on this email example. So 500% improvement in conversion. You define conversion as, like, again, click through the website or a purchase or any kind of action that the prospect
They
takes, or
book in a meeting,
book in a meeting,
book in
right?
a
Okay,
meeting. Yeah, they're prospecting emails.
sure. That's a key moment.
Yeah.
And that's because you're using AI to look at that prospect, in terms of, who they are, where they work, all that stuff, and just doing that much better a job of personalized. So the email outreach is, just, you couldn't do that with humans, right?
No.
At scale, right?
And
So
AI, yeah, and AI, if you know how to use, so I'll give you like a little tip here. What people really don't understand is like you can, when you look at an email historically, you look at open and click-through rate. That's how you measure the performance of the email. It's the only thing you really ever look at. What I would say AI is incredible at doing, and probably like team will kill me for saying some of this stuff, but it's really great at mimicking styles, right? And so let's say you get 100 different outreach emails, but you react to one of them. It's probably because that style really suits your persona, like that writing style.
right,
And so you can actually have AI preloaded with styles and over time pick the right style for the right persona. So it's not just that it can actually personalize better, it's actually you can use email in a very different way. And I think actually in the future, you'll have an email system will say, okay, you're trying to reach this marketer. Here's the style that works for this marketer. And that style is like sales are incredible people, but they're not great. They're not all great writers, right?
right,
And so
yeah.
AI can actually do better in a lot of cases because it can mimic
How do I
people's
know? How do I
styles.
know though? How do I know the prospect style? Just inferring from who they are and their
You
profile.
can you basically can take what are the best performing like so you, what you'll have in your rep base, you'll probably have like the top 5% of your reps are outperforming everyone else, and they
Yeah,
probably are doing that because of sourcing, and so
yeah,
they actually are probably doing great sourcing, and so you can take their emails and you can put them into a context window, and if you know how to do it, you can actually reverse engineer that style into a prompt, and then
yeah.
you can actually just mimic that style for all of your different emails, and each persona, well, I react to a style. I don't, I like probably do it subconsciously. But
Yeah.
I will every like 100, same thing, every 100 emails, there'll be one that I sent to my team. This is a great email. And
All right,
I've done it enough times now that I know it's the same type of email. It's like a
right,
pattern. And
right.
and I think that we are all like humans, we like to think we're really unique, but we
Yeah,
react to things that can be reverse engineered.
yeah, yeah. I get it. One last question, Kieran. So I'm a head of marketing, or maybe I'm the GM or president or a CEO of a small mid-sized company. So I own the go-to-market kind of thing. If I had to hire one person right now to start this transformation with my marketing, sales, go-to-market team, describe that person to me. If I've got one hire just to get again
Yeah.
to get initial energy and change going, who do I hire?
I think this is the the typical growth person is the best person for this. The early stage growth person who would go in and try to figure out someone's activation rate and try to figure out like new ways to acquire users because they're curious, they're scrappy, they're deeply technical, and they're creative in how they solve problems.
Yeah,
And that's
and
what you want.
data
And
driven
they're
too.
data driven
Right. Okay.
because
So yeah,
because none of this stuff is like there's not a lot of the playbooks have been figured out. And I think that's why it's such a I think that's why it's a really cool time for those kind of folks to go build them.
yeah, for sure.